just got your first order in the mail and you're wondering, what the heck do I do with it? That's where I come in. As your Seint artist, just think of me like your personal makeup assistant. First things, we're gonna open that up and we're gonna sort through all of the goodies that you got. In your box, you're gonna find a little packing slip. I like to go through this and just make sure that everything that I received is on this list, and then it matches what you think you're supposed to get. This label is actually a sticker, so some people like to cut out the little names of each of the tins on here and add them onto their palette so that it is pre-labeled, and then that way you can remember what colors are which when you're looking at it. So what came in your box might look a little bit different, but we're just gonna sort through it. Maybe you have some brush cleaner, maybe you have some setting spray. For your first order, you likely have a palette, brush, and some tins somewhere in here. I want you to find that palette and we're just gonna put that to the side. Same with your brushes, just grab any of the brushes that you have in there and we're gonna put those to the side as well too. Then we're gonna look through all the crinkle paper and just make sure that we grab any of our tins. Eyeshadows normally come packaged in these little plastic containers, and any of your loose tins will more than likely come in one of these little velvet bags. Give one last look through the crinkle paper just to make sure that nothing else got lost in there. Okay, now I want you to grab that little bag that has all of our tins in there and we are gonna sort through everything. On the backs of the tins, you'll actually see the names of what they are and also the category that they fall in, like a bronzer, a highlight, a contour, a lip and cheek, or an illuminator. So I want you to flip all of them over and lay them on the table bottom side up so that you can see what they are, and maybe put them in little piles. So your highlights are together, your contour, your bronzer, your illuminators, and any lip and cheeks that you got. Now we're gonna start building our palette. We're gonna take that little sleeve right off of there, and we're going to start adding all of our tins into this magnetic palette. I want you to find your two highlight shades. You're gonna have one that is a little bit lighter and one that is a little bit darker. We're gonna add those into here. It doesn't matter what order, just as long as you can tell the difference. So we just slide those right out of the tins here and just pop them into our magnetic palette. I personally do like to put the lighter tin first, followed by my darker one, which is gonna be like my foundation shade. And then last, I like to put that scary contour in there, but don't worry, even though it's a little bit scary, I'm gonna show you how to use it. Now that you've got those in there, we're gonna fill these with the rest of the items that you bought. So now your palette should look something like this. Yours might be a little bit bigger, it might be a little bit smaller, it might be a little bit fuller, it might be not as full. That's okay. Whatever tins you have, just get added into here. For today's application, I'm going to keep it really simple and I'm just going to use one brush for my entire face. Before we get started though, I really want to make sure that you understand that cream foundation is very different than liquid and powders that you might have been using. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making, and I was guilty of it too, is using too much product at the beginning because we're just not used to it. These tins are extremely pigmented, so a little really does go a long way. At the end of your application, you really shouldn't feel the makeup. If it's feeling heavy or greasy or really tacky, you've definitely used too much product. Another quick thing to note is if you are finding that you're having to go in too many times with your main highlight to get the coverage that you're looking for, chances are we've gone a little too light and you need to contact me and we need to go a little bit darker with your foundation color. At this point, before we get started, some people like to begin with using a primer. It isn't something that I use all the time, but when I do, we want to make sure that it is a silicone-free primer. Otherwise, your makeup is just going to go sliding around your face all day long. You really want to opt for a grippy primer. I really like the e.l.f. Power Grip one. Let's get started. Like I said, I'm using one brush. I am using the Shape brush. I love this brush for a really nice, light, natural looking coverage. So right off the bat, we're gonna go in with that scary shade, which is your contour. And if you've never contoured before, go in a little bit lighter. You can definitely build up the coverage. We are just going to tap. One of the things is you don't want to be swiping into cream makeup. You will definitely pick up too much product. So we're just gonna pounce it like a cat paw, and you're just gonna pick up a little bit of product there. So we're going to contour our forehead, just kind of like a rainbow along the hairline. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, and we are going to contour our cheek here, under our jaw, and I personally love to contour my nose. This is optional, but it is something that I love doing. You can even add a little under your lip if you want to make it look a little bit fuller. When it comes to contour for placement, one of the best rule of thumbs is use your eyebrows where the highest part of the arch is, connect your fingers, anything behind there should be contoured. So that's what we did up here. For our cheekbone, the best rule of thumb is the top of your ear headed towards the edge of your nose, but we're going to stop before the edge of the eye. For under our jaw, we're going to start behind our ear and just follow that natural shadow right on your jawline. And if you are contouring your nose, you want to keep the lines closer together so that it's going to help slim your nose instead of if you do it farther apart, it's going to make your nose look wider. Now we have our contour on, we're going to go with our main shade. This is going to be the darker of the two highlights, and it's going to be the one that most closely matches your skin tone. And yes, while we still have a little bit of product on our brush, I don't want you to worry. These brushes were made for cream makeup and it doesn't muddy together. So we can just go right into our main color. Again, just picking up a little bit of product, and we are just going to put this everywhere we didn't put our contour. So kind of in this beard area here, we're just going a little messy with it, and that's okay. I like to tap under my eye area so I'm getting the good coverage to help cover up those dark mummy under eyes, and then a little bit on my forehead. Next up, we're going to go in with that brightening highlight. This is going to be like our concealer, and we are just putting this down the center of our face, then a little pop on that inner and outer corner of our eye. So at this point, your face should look something like this. You've got your main shade kind of slapped on, some contour, and you've got your brightener. If it does, we're going to move on to the blend. I like to start off lightest to darkest, and because we've already got the colors really where they need to be, we are just blending them out so that the harsh lines are gone and just kind of making sure that everything is married together. So I'm just kind of tapping and blending this all together. Starting, like I said, with the lightest first. And just making sure that I've got the coverage where I want. Because these are creams, they warm up on your skin as they've been sitting there, so they're just going to blend together beautifully. So I'm just working this all the way around to get and make sure I've got all the areas covered. Now that that's done, I'm going to go in with my contour, and same idea, just kind of blend this back towards my hairline. On my cheek, we are just lightly flicking and blending this up because we want the shadow to make it look more lifted. Blend out a little bit of that nose if it's still showing there. Same thing with this other side. And then if you did contour your jaw, you just want to bring this shadow down because we don't want it sitting on the side of our face. So we want to just bring that down the neckline so that everything is nice and smoothed out. So at this point of your application, if you are still seeing maybe some acne spots or scars or sunspots, that's okay. Remember, I mentioned this is buildable coverage, and we will address that at the very end once we're all done. So now that we've got it all blended, we're gonna pop over to that lip and cheek. Again, our lip and cheeks are very, very pigmented, so a little goes a long way, and we're just gonna tap this on and build up as we want. So if you are somebody who really loves blush, go in there and you can definitely add more. If you want to keep it a little more subtle, you can do that too. That color also doubles as our lipstick, so we're just going to throw that on. Next up, we're going to go into that bronzer. We're just adding this to the high points of our face. Again, super pigmented, so a little goes a long way. Just where the sun would naturally hit. So top of your forehead, your cheekbones, your nose, and your chin. And don't be afraid to also bring it down your neck to help make everything look a little bit more evened out if your neck maybe is a little bit of a different color than the chest and your face. And then last, we're gonna go in with our illuminator. We just add this to the tops of our cheekbones. You can add it to your Cupid's bow, down your nose, and even on the tip of your eyebrow here. This is really just gonna give us kind of that glow from within look. And there you go. Now you are done your 3D makeup application. If you are still noticing some of those spots, we're gonna address them now with your main highlight. Just flip over to the smaller side of your brush, and just with a really light hand, we're just going to add a little bit more coverage in maybe some of those areas that just need to be addressed. But just make sure you are treating it like a spot treatment. We're not adding everything all over again in one layer, just in those little spots that you want to add a little bit more coverage to. And there you go, we have our 3D makeup application. At this point, you can choose to set your makeup with either a setting spray or a setting powder. It's really your preference. If you prefer a more matte look, then I would recommend doing a translucent setting powder. If you prefer something a little bit more dewy, then you're gonna wanna go with a setting spray. So just a couple of last things. If your main highlight shade is not matching your skin tone properly, please reach out to me so that we can get it shade swapped for you ASAP. I want you to be happy with your color. If for whatever reason your products come damaged or maybe you're missing something, reach out to me, but you can also email corporate directly and they will make it right. And last but not least, if you have any questions, any problems, anything at all, please reach out to me. That is what I'm here for as your personal makeup assistant. Thank you again for trusting me with your new makeup routine, and I hope that you love it as much as I do. Bye!